Welcome to the SNN.Network Canada virtual event. I'd like to introduce our next presenter, Silas Garrison, CEO of HealthSpace. Silas, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for attending. Good morning, and happy to be able to present HealthSpace. We are a software as a service or a SaaS company focused exclusively on the governmental market. Actually, we focus exclusively on state and local municipality governments, to be more specific. So HealthSpace, as a SaaS company, focused on the governmental market, very unique industry. Our goal and aim and all that we do is to provide a platform that helps government operate more efficiently. And for government, that means helping them manage their data more effectively. Our SaaS platform manages everything for these government agencies, from licensing and permitting to inspections to billing. And we even have an element of our platform that handles things like contact tracing in the realm of COVID-19. But all in all, we are very focused on helping government agencies at the local level operate more efficiently. We have customers all across the U.S. and Canada. And right now, sitting at, the slide is loading, so I want to make sure that it comes across as I start to talk. But sitting at the intersection of government and technology, it's kind of known as the GovTech space, it's a very unique industry. Government has a very particular set of needs, and it varies from county to county to state to even country to country. And we operate in both the U.S. and Canada. And our platform is very unique. One, it is fully cloud-based. Cloud-based in the government is still a new paradigm shift. A lot of vendors out there that we go head-to-head against are not selling cloud-based solutions, but it is, in fact, what government prefers at this day and age. Not only that, our platform is very powerful and nimble. It is customizable and tailored exactly to the way each government agency handles the way that they operate. This is really important because no two government agencies are really created alike. And our platform's uniqueness in such a growing and massive industry, government, has really translated into a lot of high, fast growth for us. So we released our cloud platform in just 2018, and over the past couple of years, we've grown our sales pipeline from effectively zero to over $25 million in what we see as near-term opportunities. Our customers are very sticky. Government is very reticent to change technologies quickly, and that means that our customer base sticks with us for the long haul. Once we sign on our customers, it's very high recurring, annual recurring revenue, or ARR. And that really shows up because our customers, once we get them on our platform, we have a over 90% year-over-year retention, so very little turnover in terms of customer base. Right now, our near-term goal is to reach $10 million in ARR, and that we believe to be achievable over the next 12 to 18 months, potentially even achievable by the end of 2022, so just 12 months from now. Right now, in terms of a little bit of background about myself, I'm Silas Garrison. I am the CEO, and I also operate as the Chief Technology Officer. I've been in the GovTech space for nearly 20 years now. I got my start very fortunately at a young age, taught myself software engineering in high school, and turned that into a career opportunity early on in life. But safe to say that I have a deep passion for helping government agencies and building very robust modern tech. And that is what we are really focused on. We work with government agencies all across the U.S. and Canada, as I mentioned. We have over 600 individual government agencies utilizing our platform at any given day and time. We have customers from coast to coast, and we've seen a lot of strong growth recently here out of California and various other hot pockets, such as Texas and Colorado. But our growth is not isolated to just one area as we sell across both the U.S. and Canada. The majority of our customers are health departments, hence the word health in our name, HealthSpace, health departments. And health departments are responsible for overseeing the health and safety of various local businesses such as restaurants or hotels. And so our platform is utilized in that way to help regulate and oversee the health and safety of these types of businesses. Now, our platforms and our product suite is kind of built on a hub and spoke model. Everything at the end of the day goes down to our center enterprise cloud platform, HS Cloud. Off of that, we have 4 product lines. 2 on the left-hand side, as you'll see, are platforms and products that come with just a standard user license. So we charge on a kind of a user seat basis. And the two that you see on the left-hand side, My Health Department and HS Touch, those are our two platforms that come with just the price of HS Cloud. My Health Department is a citizen engagement portal, which means that it allows the government to publish information online for citizens to interact with and engage with. And I'll touch on more what that means in just a moment. Then we have HS Touch, which is our mobile application. This is a really important element because government inspectors, historically going into the field with a pen and paper, think like a sanitarian who goes in to inspect a restaurant. They're usually using like a pen and paper and a clipboard. We replaced that with an iPad app or a Windows tablet. On the right-hand side, we have HSPay and GovCall. These are two additional revenue drivers over and above HS Cloud. So additional revenue drivers above just our traditional SaaS model. GovCall, as our latest product launch, is a teleconferencing solution built exclusively for government. And then we have HSPay, something that is extremely exciting, and I'll touch on more in just a moment. But that is a FinTech solution that helps streamline the intake of government revenue. So to get into each product a little bit more detail, when we're talking about HS Cloud, and I'll give a second for the slide to load, HS Cloud, if you're going to remember one thing about it, it is the fact that it is self-serve. The notion of technology being self-serve in the governmental space is really something that doesn't exist. With cloud-based technology and solutions, and you look at the private sector, most people expect to have some sort of flexibility on their own as an end user to be able to modify the software, to configure it to their exact likings and needs. But when it comes to solutions for government, that seldom really exists. Most vendors in this space require any sort of change to the software to go through developers or software engineers. It comes with some sort of SOW, potentially an additional cost to the government agency. We have completely flipped this paradigm on its head by allowing the end user, the government agency, to modify the software to their exact needs. We believe, to our core, that software should bend and mold to the way that you do business and not the other way around. Too many government agencies, unfortunately, are stuck having to modify their business processes just to fit the way that their technological solution works. It's a very sad paradigm, and it's one that we are radically shifting, and it's one that has led to strong demand for our products. HS Touch, our other product, is really simple and straightforward. It is a digital replacement for a pen and paper in the field. iPad, and it works on iPads, Windows tablets, even Android devices. It gives a very ergonomic and lightweight digital solution for field inspectors to utilize as they go out and conduct an inspection, and all of the data, when they're done, synchronizes seamlessly up to HS Cloud. My Health Department. This one is really exciting because it's not only a great product advantage in the marketplace, but it is something that really brings about the next generation of digital demands for government. When our focus is on helping government agencies operate more efficiently, one of those things is being able to allow citizens to engage with the government agency online. Just like any sort of e-commerce site or online business, what we do is we call this the digital replacement for a government office. So everything from paper filings, such as applications, license renewals, permitting, all of that on the citizen side or private business side can be done online, including payments. This is one of those things that really brings government almost into the 21st century, as if you will. Having HS Cloud be the digital solution that works seamlessly for the back office use for government, My Health Department is kind of the storefront that allows them to publish information online. Our other product, HSPay, which just went live in end of October, and we are rolling it out to customers pretty rapidly. HSPay is an extremely exciting revenue driver. Again, we are a SaaS-based company, which means the majority of our revenue comes through subscriptions, user seats model. But HSPay is one of those things that brings an additional revenue after the contract is signed. HSPay, simply put, is an online and mobile payment solution that streamlines the intake of governmental revenue. What is astonishing, but probably not too surprising, is the majority of government agencies like health departments, building departments, even fire departments and beyond, what they struggle with is that they don't have the ability to collect online payments such as credit cards from citizens. And even when they do, it doesn't connect to their back office system, and there's a bit of a gap. A lot of additional delays in collecting payment, a lot of onus put on potentially paper checks having to be sent and collect from citizens and then bank deposits. HSPay completely creates an ecosystem where the government can utilize our HS Cloud platform, publish information online to citizens through My Health Department, and then be able to collect payments through HSPay. Now, not only is this kind of a very obvious thing that online mobile payments in this day and age is very common, but for government, it's a pretty radical notion. And our part in it is that we are the middleman, which means we're able to take a fee. This is revenue over and above what we have in our SaaS subscription revenue, in anywhere in the neighborhood of a half to a full 1% of every dollar that flows through this channel will be able to be our cut. So alongside Visa, MasterCard, and all the other card brands, we're able to take a profit share in the whole transaction. And when you zoom out in terms of what does that translate into, our existing customer base is collecting in the neighborhood of about $500 million a year in terms of annual revenue, from licensing fees, permitting fees. And that $500 million is largely being collected through paper means, check in the mail or cash in person. So as we're able to help digitize that revenue on behalf of government, we're going to be able to see anywhere from 0.5% to 1% of that whole take as additional top-line revenue for us. The other solution that we just rolled out this year is GovCall. Now, GovCall being teleconferencing for government, and I believe the slide is still loading, but GovCall came about, not surprisingly, because of the pandemic. As government agencies were largely being forced, as the rest of the world was, to go into a remote work function, what they were facing is the inability to conduct a lot of their what is traditionally in-person on-site functions, such as inspections and on-site visits. Those became more challenging and in some instances more scary because it increased risk of exposure. Not only that, a lot of government agencies historically have known that driving across town just to conduct a follow-up inspection, which is usually just a visual spot check. Did you correct, the leaky faucet? Did you fix this? Did you fix that? It's really just a visual confirmation. So GovCall will allow them to conduct these inspections, these visual spot checks, these walkthroughs through a teleconferencing video platform, and it's directly embedded in HS Cloud. We are focused, again, on building an ecosystem because government desires one-stop shopping, having one platform that kind of covers all the bases. GovCall is an additional revenue driver. It's a premium user seat, so over and above our standard user seat license, which we typically charge in the neighborhood of $1,500 to $2,000 a year per user. GovCall increases that by as much as 20 to 30%. And just recently we rolled this out, and the first customer to sign up with it this past summer was Orange County, California. That increased the ARR on that contract by 22%. So GovCall, we believe, will be an additional revenue driver for existing customers, as well as, again, an additional product standout that will allow us to grow into new market segments, which I'll touch on in just a moment. This next slide is just a look at some of the more recent wins and a look at how we're diversifying our portfolio. So when I talk about government, I mentioned at the top of the call, the majority of our customers are health departments, more specifically environmental health departments. What does an environmental health department do? The very simple, very relatable example is, restaurant inspections. They go in, they make sure that the restaurant is operating healthy and safe, and there's, no foodborne illness and food safety and those types of things. Well, we've begun to expand into other types of government agencies. Earlier this year, we signed on a $2 million 5-year contract with Wisconsin Department of Agriculture, our first agricultural customer. And then we've also signed on other areas of health departments, clinical health and public health. These are different health department segments with separate buyers, budgets, but it's safe to say that it showcases how our platform is expanding and applicable in more scenarios than we just initially launched with. To get into some of our revenue growth, so I mentioned at the top, our sales pipeline sits at $25 million and continues to grow. As we sit right now, we've closed just right around $12 million in contracts this year, and that $12 million is represented as the total aggregate contract value. typically 5 years in length. And after we've closed $12 million in contracts this year, our sales pipeline is still sitting at over $25 million. Right now, we're sitting at right around $4 million in ARR under contract, and we anticipate nearing right around 5 by end of calendar year. We anticipate a pretty strong month. We've already announced several pretty sizable deals, including Sacramento, California, just this month. So we're continuing to prospect and cross a lot of large regions and close many new contracts. So to zoom out and look at the industry as a whole, I've mentioned agriculture, health departments, and all these various segments of government. In a lot of ways, that might not make a lot of sense to various folks who are new to this space. But government has a very growing need for digital solutions. You don't have to convince them that they need something better than a filing cabinet in their back office or some sort of homegrown, server that just sits in their office and doesn't really talk to the rest of the outside world. In fact, at the global basis, when you look at the U.S. as a whole, it is projected that by the end of this year, state and local government agencies in the U.S. alone will be spending upwards of $118 billion on IT services and technical solutions. When you look at that and you translate it into subsets of markets that we serve, environmental health, which is our core bread and butter right now, that's $120 million ARR TAM. And then if you look at public health, departments of agriculture is smaller, but it's really important because as you build use cases into new market segments, it becomes easier to expand into others. Some not listed here that we broke ground on even just last month is fire departments, a huge market vertical that we just broke ground in that represents a market segment upwards of over $1 billion just in fire departments alone. So it's safe to say that the market segments that we serve and sell into to help digitize and bring government into the cloud-based 21st century is a multi-billion-dollar market segment, and we're just really getting started. This is a look at our cap structure. Our basic shares outstanding sits around 36 million, fully diluted 48 million. We did a consolidation last year in December, so our cap table sits at a very cleaned up basis. We have no debt on the books, and right now we're just in the process of working. We have a number of warrants that we anticipate being exercised over the next year or two, and that would bring in additional capital. To look at the next slide, which I won't read everybody's bio in detail, but our management and directors, I'm very fortunate to be surrounded by a strong management team with both deep experience in the capital markets as well as in the governmental space. It's really, really important when running a SaaS company in the government space, to have people who understand the market. Government likes to buy from known entities, and in many ways, it's kind of an expert-driven sale. So I'm very fortunate to be surrounded by not just our management and directors, but strong senior management who understands this space. So that was a really quick intro into the company. I'm happy to turn it over to QA right now. I noticed that we have maybe a couple of questions here, so please do feel free to pop in questions that you may have. One question that we already have here is, what is the company's vision from where it would like to be in the next 12 months? It's safe to say that our focus is on really helping government on the broad spectrum operate more efficiently, and we anticipate on over doubling our growth over the next 12 months. Having just launched our HSPay solution last month, that is going to be a big focus for 2022, really growing the FinTech vertical while continuing to grow our organic ARR through our SaaS platform. So right now, again, it's sitting around 4 million in ARR, projecting that will be likely somewhere between in the 8 to 10 neighborhood by the end of the year. Next year, we anticipate really rapid growth and scaling up over the next 12 months. We want to pause and make sure that there's time for any other questions. So break even. One of the questions was, when do you expect to break even from an IFRS perspective? So in terms of break even, right now we are burning about $300,000 a month. So we've rapidly scaled up our team. We sit at around 90 full-time team members or full-time FTEs. And so right now we expect to be in and around break even by late Q4 of next year. Part of that is bringing on our sales pipeline. We've hired ahead of that. Each customer goes through an implementation cycle. One of the things that I did not mention is an additional revenue line is, while I focus a lot on ARR, each of our customers, we charge them an upfront fee for professional services. So each customer contract comes with a professional services that allows us to offset the time and money it takes to just set up the platform. While our platform is very much self-serve, nimble, and flexible, each government agency has to go through a business analysis and implementation process. Typically, a customer will pay in the neighborhood of 1.5 to 2 times what their ARR is in professional services. So if you zoom out and look at our average contract, it's a $500,000 contract. Might be $80,000 a year in terms of ARR over the 5 years, and we'll charge them somewhere around $100,000 upfront to set up. So with the professional services, that greatly offsets that burn, and we do anticipate being in and around break even by end of next year. Do you expect all growth to happen organically, or would you look at acquisitions? Really great question. But right now, all of our growth has been organic. Government is a very traditional, old-school-based sales. Our sales team sits at around 7 people, and it's a lot of cold calling, very word-of-mouth driven sales. So our reputation is honestly one of the biggest drivers in just getting your foot in the door, and then after that, really the platform brings them home. Right now, we are keeping our eye on acquisitions, but it's a very consolidated space. We have a lot of the competitive landscape in terms of head-to-head competitors. We really only have 2 main competitors, and I'll touch on that briefly as more questions come in. Our head-to-head competition is largely already consolidated the space. One of our main competitors, Tyler Technologies, they're publicly traded on the New York Stock Exchange. TYL is their ticker symbol. They have about a $20 billion market cap. In head-to-head sales against them, we're beating them every time. In fact, we're starting to take away customers from their market. And that really accentuates that the organic growth is going to be our first focus, and acquisitions would be secondary, but it is something that we have on the potential forecast for 2022. Let me refresh these questions. Can you speak to your sales cycle and how long it typically takes to convert a pipeline client to a paying customer? Very good question. So our average sales cycle is averaging about 4 months. That's from initial intro conversation to demo to close. The majority of our customers are sold through what's called sole source, meaning that we engage with the government agency, they see the product, and we're able to convert them to a paying customer, a contract, in about a 4-month window. And that is done with no procurement, meaning they don't have to go to bid, release an RFP, a request for proposal, and that really shortens the sales cycle. Now, the larger the sales get, typically the larger the sales cycle, and especially in certain jurisdictions, RFPs are required once the sale goes above, say, $1 million. That's not a hard and fast rule, but kind of a good rule of thumb. And when it does have to go to RFP, just by procurement laws, that will typically extend the sales cycle anywhere from 6 to 8 months. So that's typically our average, but we have a very good turnaround, especially on our core sales, which are usually that $250,000 to $500,000 in terms of contract size. That's kind of our bread and butter, where you're going to see a lot of volume, and those are typically averaging about 4 months. Another question is centered around financing in terms of the near to midterm. No set plans on financing. Obviously, this market, what you have to just always look at it contextually is what is going to be most valuable and creative for the company. So no set plans right now, but it's obviously something that we keep a close eye on, especially as more investors become aware of the story and potentially want to participate in the round. When should we expect to hear more on initial revenues from HSPay? We do intend on updating the market here very, very soon on HSPay. So HSPay, as I mentioned, it went live in October, and so we're just getting it off the ground. Government, they issue their invoices, meaning their billing is done cyclically. They typically send out a large batch of their invoices to their citizens or private businesses 2 to 3 times a year. So just getting it live, it is already going into revenue. But what we anticipate is going into 2022 that the ramp for revenue growth will be pretty aggressive as government sends out more and more invoices and have much more revenue to collect. We will be putting out some updates on that here very shortly, and then probably issuing guidance in the first part of 2022 on HSPay. These are all very good questions. I do appreciate it. Let's more roll in. So can you describe the nature of the pipeline? For example, how many contracts make up the 25 million? So the 25 million pipeline is comprised of right around 80 deals. Because deal sizes can range anywhere from, a less than $100,000 contract, a rural small municipal county. They might be a $60,000, $70,000 contract over 5 years because they only have a few users, all the way up to upwards of over $5 million in terms of a total contract size. So we have some pretty big, sizable contracts and opportunities in that sales pipeline. But in terms of the total number of pipeline, it's roughly made up of 80 deals. And I will touch on that pretty much the whole pipeline is comprised of only environmental health. As I mentioned, we broke into fire just last month, fire departments, and we're not putting those into our overall sales pipeline. We likely will begin next year to issue pipelines that are market specific. If you're taking business from your big competitors, have they shown any interest in acquiring HS? At this time, we've not fielded any direct interest from our competitors, but I can tell you that we are on their radar. We took several sizable California agencies from one of our main competitors, a company by the name of Excella, Orange County, Sacramento, and state of Colorado, and more. I always answer this question is that when we look at potentially being acquired, what we are doing is focused on aggressive growth and grabbing as much land as we can. It's a land grab. We believe that the knock for an exit will come. It's not an if, but a when. But right now we are building for scale, not for exit. And so when we believe that as we go into new market opportunities such as fire, another one that I didn't really touch on very much is code enforcement, building departments. These are larger segments of the governmental market where our big competitors have huge market penetration and very sizable amounts of revenue made up in these other market segments. Right now we're doing right around $4 million in ARR in just basically environmental health mostly. When you look at our competitors, they're sometimes doing upwards of over $100 million a year in various areas such as fire departments or code enforcement. As we start to build traction in these new market segments, we believe that the interest will grow and potentially someone coming along and acquiring us, and we'll just have to vet that opportunity for, is it accretive for shareholders and it's the right time to look at a potential strategic exit. And as I just have basically 30 seconds left, I don't see any additional questions rolling in. So I'll go ahead and wrap and say thank you so much, everybody, for attending. I really appreciate taking the time to listen to the story. You can always find more on our website about us at GetHealthSpace.com. And as always, I believe there's additional contact information. You can always reach out to us directly. If you want to learn more, investors at GetHealthSpace.com is our email address. Feel free to please reach out as you have more questions and do further due diligence on the story. But thank you so much, everybody, for attending and listening.